I'd like to call the I'd like to call the Fairfield County Council regular meeting to order. It is now 6 o'clock, Winsboro, South Carolina, Monday, January 24th, 2022. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the agenda be approved. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
So let the record show, 6-0. Invocation, Councilman Gilbert.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you in the precious name of your living Son, Jesus Christ, giving you thanks for your blessings, oh merciful Father. We just ask right now, Lord God, that you look down upon us right now and you just touch our hearts and give us the right spirit, Lord God, as we go about your business. And Lord, we must remember that you placed us in these positions and it is about us serving your people. And we ask the Lord God, you just touch our hearts and we do what is right. In your Son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Item 4, approval of minutes. Can we get a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and second for the approval of the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show, 6-0. Approval of the minutes. We're down to public presentation, none. Item 6, first public comment. Dr. Roberts.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of council. One person signed up to speak, Mr. Randy Bright.
Good evening, Randy Bright, District 1, Ridgeway. There's two common themes that we've seen often. The threads are in these ordinances. Number one, not enough detail, especially number C, not the who, what, when, where, why, particularly when we say why, how's it going to benefit us? But we've talked about that many a time. And it's still not fixed, but we'll keep talking about it. The other and probably more egregious part that shows through the ordinances in general, particularly the one about on D, the economic development on the spec building, is that we have these ordinances and we go through the motions, but don't really have any grand plan. To me, it's like you get a puzzle. You know, normally when you get a puzzle, you get a picture of the puzzle. So you get the big picture, you know how it should shake out. You take the pieces and you put them together and you work towards a picture that you know. But we're working with a puzzle that doesn't have a picture. We just got a bunch of pieces and we throw them here and here and we don't know where we're headed. We don't know what we're prioritizing. For example, the spec building. At some point, we are going to need a spec building. I agree with that. But is that top priority? What's the priorities here? What's the plan? What's the picture of the puzzle? Or are we just taking blank puzzle pieces and trying to fit them together, maybe chip them off so that they fit just right? And then where are we going? You ever take a trip without a GPS or without a map or that you've never been there before? Just kind of meander around and never wind up in not only a timely fashion, but a productive fashion. We need a plan. We need a grand plan. I remember, and so do you guys, time and time again, we had work sessions in the spring where the public and the council and the employees knew where we were headed, but we don't. All we know is we got a puzzle without a picture and a lot of pieces out there that we think we need, but we don't know any priority. We don't know how they fit together. We don't know where we're going. Please get a plan. Remember, don't plan to fail. Get a plan so you're not planning to fail. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Public hearings, none. 8, ordinance resolution and order. Second reading, ordinance number 785, an ordinance to approve the termination of the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions Fairfield Commerce Center as to certain parcels shown on parcels 10 and 11 of the master development plan, subject to the approval of Fairfield Commerce Center. Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and second,
Second.
it's been moved and second that we approve, second reading. Any discussion?
You like to?
Explanation.
Okay,
It's 2 to 1.
Mr. Zacharias, you want to do that for us?
Thank you.
Just
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Zachariah Willoughby. I am the new project manager for the Fairfield County Economic Development. I'm going to briefly talk about the approval of the termination of the declaration of the covenants, conditions, and restrictions for the Fairfield Commerce Center. Currently, an offer has been made to purchase parcels 10 and 11 in the Fairfield County Commerce Center. A stipulation of this offer was that the covenants, conditions, and restrictions must be terminated for the 2 parcels of the land. So right now I'm going to go over what are the covenants, what are these covenants, and what are some of the things that they impact. So the covenants are essentially just a formal argument, agreement, or promise usually included in a contract or declaration in this case that allows or prohibits certain actions. The Fairfield Commerce Center covenants were established by County Council on February in 2014. These covenants, these are not all of the things that it does, but the majority of them, they create a design and review committee, which has the authority of overseeing and approving all future development projects at the Commerce Center. And the declaration also laid out some rules and regulations that each developmental project must comply with. And some of these regulations are it will limit the number of signage allowed, and it will regulate that location of that signage and the lighting of that signage. It also prohibits the outside storage of items in the front of the building, and it requires all fences to receive prior written approval. And it requires all exterior walls of a building to be constructed of concrete, and it bans any metal exterior walls. Windy Hill Development, who has submitted an offer on this land, has a plan to construct a Class B site industrial park. Right here, these are parcels 10 and 11 that we're talking about terminating the covenants for. The Fairfield County Economic Development Office is right here. This is Peach Road. Cook Road is right here. These are 10 and 11. This is the property outline of that property. And this is a proposed Class B industrial park that this offer is for. If we sold the land, it would remove this piece of property outside of the Fairfield Commerce Park. And so we're asking right now is to remove these, terminate these covenants so that they can build a Class B park, which would have exterior walls. Of course, if these covenants were terminated, the buildings would still be required to comply with Fairfield County zoning law. It would just remove the extra burden from the Fairfield County Commerce covenants. We, Economic Development, believe that removing the CCR and allowing the construction of a Class B industrial park would be vital to the economic success of the county. It would take land that is essentially undevelopable off our property tax rolls. We would get property tax and create jobs for these companies that would come into this commerce park. This Class B Commerce Industrial Park are smaller properties. it's a company might not need a Bow Mag sized building. It might be a welding company that needs a smaller metal exterior building that has does welding. It has well-paying jobs. It has expensive machinery, but they might not need this huge building that we have in the Commerce Center. So by constructing these smaller buildings in a Class B industrial park, we would be more attractive to recruiting new businesses, bringing new jobs to this county, and increasing the revenue for our county. And so that is just, this is, this we have right here is an example of what a metal building would be. It's a very nice building, but it takes away the requirement like they have right now to have a brick building, a high scale landscaping, and it would just remove that and allow easier development for a Class B industrial park and promote new business and growth in the county.
Okay, it's already been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Nay.
So that's, so let's, let the nays raise the hand. Okay, so that's, 5-2. Okay, item B. Second reading, ordinance number 786, an ordinance to approve the sale of a certain parcel shown as parcels 10 and 11 on the master plan for the Fairfield Commerce Center.
Make a motion to approve.
We get a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second to approve, ordinance number 786. Any discussion? You want to talk about this one too?
I can, yes, sir.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So if you flip to packet in the packet that I provided, pages 11 through 15. So like I said previously, we currently have an offer to purchase parcels 10 and 11 at its appraised value. Pages 11 through 15 has that executive summary of that appraisal. Currently, the appraisal is 2 times more than what the county paid for it years ago. The offer is for $2,797.83 per acre for a total of $155,000 for 55.4 acres of land. As stated above, a requirement for this purchase is terminating the covenants of parcel 10 and 11, so the purchaser may construct a Class B industrial park. The major advantage for us selling this property to Windy Hill, a private developing company, is if I pull up the map for it, as you'll see, right now this land is unusable for us. To access this land, we would be required to build a road that cost $3.6 million. And for us to recoup the loss on a $3.6 million, that would require at least a $200 million investment. And this could take, 2 to 20 years for us just to get that money back on the road alone. But because of the developer, the way the Windy Hill Properties already owns pre-existing land alongside Cook Road. And if you look on this map, there is a there's a gravel road here that he would not, the development company would not be required to build a road here because they already have a pre-existing road here. And another advantage of us selling this land is this private developer takes over all responsibilities for developing that land. We don't have to pay to grade it. We don't have to pay to upgrade this road. We don't have to pay to get sewage here. They take over all of that, and they will make money from selling that land to these prospective companies, and we would receive the property tax money year after year after year once new businesses move in here. So that's a huge advantage for us because it saves us so much money because, like I said, right now, we are not able to bring any business here because we don't have this road. And $3.6 million, we could use that money purchasing another plot of land that already has sewer, that is by the road, that already has the utilities that we need, and then start bringing income now. And then by selling it to this private developer, we don't have to spend any money on it. We'll make $155,000 for it for council to decide what to do with. Again, they would be responsible for all costs of development. So we would receive the sales tax, we would receive the property tax once new businesses come in. And so that's why we're trying to sell this land so it can become part of a bigger Class B industrial park with the land that we own and the land that Windy Hill Development already owns.
Hey, any other discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposing?
Nay.
Bill 5-2. Second reading, ordinance number 787. An ordinance to amend the appropriation of funds received by Fairfield County from the American Rescue Plan to account for an assets appropriation shown by reconciliation. Following a third reading amendment to ordinance 778. Can we get a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Can we get a second? I second. Any discussion?
Chairman Bill,
Yes.
when you look at the ordinance and the way it reads, and I'm gonna read a section of it. It says, whereas, and this is the third paragraph, whereas the county adopted a amendment to ordinance 778 on third reading based upon the staff representation that the amendment would not result in appropriation exceeding the amount of ARP funds provided to the county. Well, I want to say that I don't think it was a staff representation that made the error, but I want to say it was a council decision that made the error. Mr. Calder and Mr. Bass and Ms. Bass on numerous occasions urged us to take our time on this matter. On August 23rd, to be specific, Ms. Bass stated it would be best to have a mini budget work session, take our time, and that we had until 2024 to encumber the money. But she was ignored. The night of the final reading, Ms. Bass was asked to go back to her office on 2 to 3 occasions to come up with numbers. The council should have never done that. When we look at this ordinance and we look at the different things that is put in here for us to spend this money on, all of these things were put together by Mr. Bill. Now, at one of the last readings, when the list came in, the poll watchers were included on this ARPA money. They were since taken off. In emails that was sent by Mr. Bell to council, he asked Mr. Boykin and Mr. Calder to find out if it was legal to give poll watchers any money. Mr. Calder researched this, came back with an answer, and said that it was not legal to give any poll watchers any money. Since then, on December the 14th, Mr. Bell ordered Mr. Whitaker to provide 21 poll watchers with a $200 bonus based on our previous discussion the night before. Council was never advised after that day whether or not the poll watchers received any money. I didn't find out until last week that the poll watchers had received the money. Now, when I asked where the money came from, it was stated that it came out of their budget. I don't think one single council member can direct Mr. Whitaker, the administrator, to take money out of the budget and give it to employees and how much to give to them. If that's the case, I can tell Mr. Boykin tonight, tomorrow, I want you to give a certain amount of money to a certain department. And if he's going to do it for Mr. Bell, then he needs to do it for me. Mr. Bell cannot do that. Also, when you look at these allocations, I don't know if council is aware that right behind us at the fitness center that was done for Fairfield County, there are rooms that have not been finished at that fitness center, but we are steady working on other projects, and we ain't even finishing what we started with the fitness center. We have a recreation director who is a interim director who has not been promoted to full-time, but we are steady adding recreation facilities for him to manage, and we can't even promote him to full-time. These things have to be addressed. We cannot continue to go forward with other projects until we address the projects that we never did finish. Farmers market needs sprinklers. That was never done. So all of these things on this ARPA money, I'm in favor of two, and that's the first two. And that would be for the bonuses for the employees, and that would be for the roof on the DSS building. That bid actually came in at $445,000. It was not $450. I believe it was $445,000. That is going to be a total redo of that roof. We had the choice to recover it, or we either had a choice to redo the whole roof, and we're going to redo the whole roof. So when you look at these things, I will vote in favor of this ordinance. But the reason I'm voting in favor of it is because it's all together. But the total amount of money spent so far out of the rescue money is $1,008,400. So we still have about $1 million still left that has not been spent yet. Thank you.
The, the, the purpose of the ordinance is so that that the money can be accurately accounted for. When we left here that night, it was told to us that the extra bonus monies was $595,000 with an extra $11,500 left over. Okay, it was found out that no money was left. It wasn't authorized for them to spend that money, nor was council aware of it. So what we're trying to do, this is federal dollars. And what we're trying to do is make sure we have the books corrected in a way that it can pass the auditor test. So again, it's up to you all whether you want to pass the ordinance or not. Okay, any other discussion? In 2021, which was approved by the Fairfield County Council in Ordinance 754 as part of the project rental agreement. Can we get a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion?
Explanation for audience.
Mr. Zachariah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Fairfield County Economic Development is wanting to build a 100 square foot spec building on Parcel 9. The PowerPoint, please. On Parcel 9 of the Fairfield County Commerce Center. This is a map of what Parcel 9 is right here. For context, this is the Fairfield County Economic Development Office right here. And then this is Parcel 9. Currently, we believe that this spec building will cost around $5 million to construct. We have received $2 million from the settlement, and we have received a $2.5 million grant from the South Carolina Department of Commerce, specifically for constructing a spec building in Fairfield County. So we are asking for $500 to fill in the gaps of constructing the spec building. When we sold the last spec building to Old Castle, we received $2.2 million. We used $1.2 million of those dollars to grade Parcel 7 at the Fairfield County Commerce Center and are asking for $500,000 for the sale from that sale for the construction of this spec building. We are currently planning on the spec building being 100,000 square feet, but the pad will build so the spec building can easily expand to 250,000 square feet, shall a business need that expansion. If the money is received, we plan to meet with an engineer in the coming weeks. This firm will help us design the pad for the spec building, and then we'll put out a request for proposal for the construction of that spec building. And then we have a timeline where we hope that this building will be constructed by the end of 2022. And here I have an example of what about 100,000 square foot spec building will look like that we'll build on Parcel 9. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If we build the spec building, what method, how are we going to be able to supply it with waste and water if we don't have ample supply at our wastewater treatment plant now? I mean,
Currently, we have the supply for a certain type of business. We definitely can't go to the largest type of business, but as we're planning to upgrade the wastewater system, we'll be able to provide for a larger business, and we're looking at some other plans to increase capacity to this site. But right now, we currently do have the capacity for some form of business to come here right now.
for the spec building.
Yes, sir.
And another thing, with this is collaboration with, Dominion Energy,
Yes, sir.
the South Carolina Department of Commerce, and Fairfield County. Fairfield County is only supplying $500,000 out of the $5 million that we received. 2.5 coming from the South Carolina Department of Commerce, 2 million coming from Dominion Energy. Okay, and again, the last time a spec building was built was in 2013, 2014. This is a pathway to make sure we're ready for the economic boom we believe we're gonna have.
Sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The last spec building that we built, how long did we hold on to it before we sold it?
I believe we had it for about 5 years. There's a couple things why it took so long to sell. The spot that the pad that the old castle building was built on, the way it was graded and the way the pad was constructed didn't allow for the spec building to expand, so it wasn't as attractive to businesses who wanted that future capability to expand. And then there was some sewage capability that we needed to upgrade and make sure that we had there before it sold.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Let the record show 7-0. Item E. Third and final reading ordinance number 782. An ordinance to amend the Fairfield County Land Management Ordinance number 599 and the related zoning map to provide for the zoning reclassification from R1, single family residential district, to RD1, rural residential district, of 5.6 acres of woodland undeveloped property indicated as tax map number 119-00-02-021-000. To match the owner's adjoining 59.89 acres already zoned as RD1. Tax map number 120-00-01-042-000, and combine the two properties. The property is owned by Christian H. Wallace and Amber J. Wallace.
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Okay. It's been moved in second. One of the things is, prior to us coming to this meeting tonight, to this afternoon, we received probably, Mr. Whitaker, 3 to 4, 5, 6 calls about this. So what I would like to do is, I'm okay if this is what what council would like to do. I would like to, with someone to make a motion to table it until Mr. Whitaker can further investigate and go ahead and look at this, and have it tabled to the next meeting.
Mr. Chair, the question would be, since this is second reading, you still have a public hearing, the third reading.
No, this is third and
It's
final.
third.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
I would withdraw my motion.
Okay, someone who second?
I did.
Okay, you withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay, could we get someone to table? Make a
Motion,
table to the next meeting?
motion to table to the next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
I second it.
It's been moved and second. That we table this motion until, our next council meeting? On what date that is, Miss?
Seventh, I think. Is it seventh? The 14th, February 14th.
Until February 14th. Okay, thank you.
Had to vote on.
All in favor? Let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. Board and commission minutes, disability and special needs, Chamber of Commerce. As information, board and commission appointments. We have one appointment, disability and special needs.
Chair. I would like to suggest that even though these appointments may not be in our district or something like that, we still be, if someone would let us know that.
Okay, you got it in your package, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, but after the fact, you know what I'm saying?
okay, okay. Can we get a motion to appoint?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And that person name is?
It's Ginger Smith, Virginia Smith.
Okay.
She's
get
from
a second?
District 2.
A second.
It's been moved in second. That we appoint Virginia Smith to the, Disability and Special Needs, Commission. One of the questions that Mr. Gibbard asks is, how can we, get that? I think, one of the things we done early on, Ms. Roberts, can we send look at all the appointments that's going forward and send a list of all the council members of all the appointments that's needed for all council, so they can review that? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposers? Let it show we just appointed Ms. Virginia J. Smith. Okay, old business none, new business none, county administrator report.
I have two agendas, the county response to our recent weather emergencies. Mr. Brad Douglas is going to share some information with us, and then we're going to have a relocation update from Mr. Will Louder, who is representing Mr. Driggers.
All right. Council, thank you for having me this evening. Just going to give you a county response to our severe weather. As everybody knows, we had two severe weather events over the last 8 days. The first one, whenever the weather report started coming in, we worked very closely with the state and with the National Weather Service. They were very confident that it was going to be pretty impactful, which I think we can all agree that it was. Prior to that, the Friday prior to the event starting on, again, I'm talking about the event that started on Saturday, January 15th, we met with all of our local partners, with the Sheriff's Office, with EMS, with Fire, with our local Public Works Department, also with our local South Carolina Department of Transportation folks. We partner very well with them and in those 3 days. So it's very busy. I can tell you this, that again, I'm proud of the partnership that we have with our local folks, other department heads with the county, also with the Winsboro, town of Winsboro, those folks, those partners there, and then of course with the state, with the DOT. But I'm most proud, I think, of our fire services, especially, we rely heavily in this county on volunteers, and I just can't tell you how much that they did to help us with tree removals and keeping those roadways open. I didn't hear the first complaint from EMS about not being able to get to a call, or from law enforcement or anything. So, hats off to them. And I know Jason Pope was going to be here, but he could not be here. And he asked me to read something on his behalf. And this, I'm quoting from Jason Pope. He says, "I can't say enough about the volunteers of Fairfield County Fire Service. On Sunday, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., they responded to over 140 downed trees and power lines in one house fire. They ran calls all day and did an amazing job. This response demonstrates their dedication and commitment to our citizens, and by doing so, they exemplified our motto of service before self. And I agree with him. Hats off to all our folks in the county, our paid employees, but you kind of have to give an extra tip of the cap to our volunteers. They could have very easily just sat at home. They weren't required to be there. They were doing that truly out of the goodness of their heart. So they did so much just for the county on the 911 side, because they took a lot of these down tree calls, and they set up a system where we could funnel those from our call system from our call center to them, which allowed us to funnel emergency calls, get the help to people in emergency calls a lot quicker. So, with all those number of calls coming in, a lot of them, we got them and then boom, we passed them off, passed them off. So that allowed anybody having a medical emergency or some type of emergency where they need law enforcement, we were able to get those services out quickly because of what those volunteers were doing for us. So, I'll tell you if you, yes, sir.
Mr. Whitaker, why are you on the volunteers, firefighters? One of the things I want to say too, many of them, when they left home, okay, they left home not having power. They came back home not having power. Some of the firefighters had to go home and try to provide, make sure their home had some heat for their family. They went back out again. I tell you, when you look at the work that the firefighters done, I'm gonna be really frank with you. It was nothing but exceptional. And that's probably for every service that was in the county. Only reason I know about fire service because I'm involved, but that day we did not have any problem with any services that we could talk about. And we end up, a lot of the trucks end up going to Blythewood for gasoline late that evening. So again, I want to hats off to all the emergency services, it was just really good to see as a member of this county.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Bell. It was a great collaborative effort. We're going to have a after action report or a debriefing with all the involved folks probably within the next week to include that event we're talking about and the one that just occurred. And we were all talking and saying how well it went. And there's not really, you can always tweak things and make them a little better. And that's obviously what we want to do. We want to be, our goal was to be as efficient as possible. But, nothing glaring jumped out at us. And that's unusual in something like that. But it just went, I think it just goes toward everybody's willingness to work together. And that's something that we were all as a group proud of how that went. But again, the state, the town, all of our county department heads, it was a great collaborative effort. The second event was, of course, this winter storm warning that we just had. It was mostly snow, thank goodness. And that was from January 21st through the 23rd, pretty much Friday till about Sunday morning sometime. There we had much fewer, about half the volume of calls, a little over 500. The great thing there is no power outages were reported to us. So, before in the previous event, that was one of the main concerns. Let me jump back to that previous one real quick. Because the extremely low temperatures and the extended delay in getting some of the power back on, we did partner with First Baptist Church, and we opened a warming station, and we tried to circulate that to everybody, and we let all of our first responders know if they ran into anybody that was having trouble, didn't have heat and they didn't have anywhere to go, to give us a call to the warming station. We made the church available for them to go up there to a warm area. We had some water available, had where they could charge their devices. But also what we did there too, our plan was if anybody got there and we were going to talk to each person that came, and if they did not have somewhere to go, we were going to work with our county partners to make sure they had somewhere to go. If it's a motel room or talking with their church members or something, we were going to work to make sure no one, if they reached out to us, we want to make sure no one was going to be left out in the cold, literally that night. So we did have that in place also. With the second event, again, it was mainly snow, which is a good thing because snow doesn't stick to power lines like that ice does. And so we did not have those power outages that we experienced with that first event. And it was just snow. You know, it's pretty to look at and it gets a little slushy on the roads, but again, just so you can see by this much less number of calls that we got that, you know, it certainly did not impact us like the first event did. But again, just want to again say thank you to all those personnel who came out and worked this, especially our volunteers. You know, didn't hear any complaining. No, everybody put their egos aside. So I think that's what made it work so well. And again, we will be having a debrief soon just to talk about, you know, what went well and what we can do to improve, you know, improve it next time we have an event like this. We have created like what we call a severe weather email distribution list. So we got something now in place if everybody needs to be involved in this. So next time we have one, we just throw an email out there and hit send, and we're meeting with everybody. We're going in and linking up with them. So we made some great progress in preparation for this. And with the course of the second event, we were already in that response posture. So, you know, wasn't a lot of meeting we had to do. Everybody was ready. Everybody had, you know, had a good practice run from that first one. So everybody was ready for the worst case from this second one. And thankfully it didn't, you know, other than the snow and a little ice on the roads, that was about the bulk of what we experienced. And that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions.
I'd like to commend everyone that got out there and worked, all of the first responders and the utility people. I mean, the people that I came in contact with just superb. They were a little exhausted from working so many long hours. And I even saw Officer Ginyard over there out in the middle of the street cutting trees out of the road, stuff like that. And these people really need to be commended for the job that they did. It was really, really a superb job. My hat's off to all of you guys.
Yes, we're very blessed to have some
We are.
good-hearted people. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Certainly, thanks to everyone. Great job.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Douglas, for your excellent leadership during this process.
Yes, sir. You're quite welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, so our next item is our relocation move. We have been receiving what I consider excellent project management service from Mr. Driggers and Mr. Louder, who's leading our move to our new location, which I'm personally excited about. Taking me over there, and I think we're on the right path. So please share your presentation about our move.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, for working to help us get on the agenda tonight. Mr. Chairman, Council, thank you for the opportunity to share with you this exciting news about Mount Zion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Will Louder. I am an independent contractor, retired engineer and project manager, spending most of my career with Duke Energy and IBM over the years in the energy sector, construction, and engineering and construction. I was asked by Mr. Driggers after he started to work down here with the county to come in and bring project management construction expertise to represent the county at Mount Zion's construction campus and also at the county courthouse. And that's what I've been doing since I believe about mid-August for the county. I am a history buff. I love old buildings. I've restored a couple old houses. When I was telling Ms. Green, when I was young enough to crawl under them, I restored a few. And so it's been really exciting to be a part of this restoration project at Mount Zion. It has become a beautiful, beautiful place. You're going to be very proud of it. And I've had the opportunity to go with Mr. Bell and Ms. Green and tour the campus a couple of times, and we're really excited about getting this whole group out there before long to tour it and see what I think all of the county people that live in the county will be very proud of when they come there to do their business. I think they're just going to be, it's just a sense of pride when you walk up and see this is the Fairfield County complex. It's really nice. So I'll get off that soapbox and I'll share with you some details and information. I went through this last week in detail with Mr. Bell, Mr. Whitaker, and Ms. Green. And they wanted me to share an overview of it here. You have the same deck. I assume Ms. Whitaker sent that out to you. You have the same deck that I went over with them. I'm not going to go through every slide, but it's all there, and I'll be more than happy to cover any questions on any of the details that are in it. Which button goes forward? Just to the right? Okay, and I'm having a hard time seeing it. So as you see here, what's listed on this screen is who's relocating from the council, from the county to the Mount Zion campus. And you see a listing of them there. Information technology, finance department, procurement, human resources, county administration, county council, community development, the legislative delegation with Ms. Roxy, the economic development team, permitting, planning, recreation and programs department, the 911 call center with Brad, and then the sheriff's department.
Do you?
Yes.
I'm
No,
sorry.
that's fine.
You want us to wait until you get through to ask questions, or you want us to do it?
If you want to ask the question, that's fine. If I know I'm going to answer it, would it be okay to say, I'll show you that on the next slide or whatever?
Well, months ago, the sheriff's department brought up several concerns about relocating to Mountain Zion. And I don't know if those concerns have been addressed by council and what we are going to do going forward, whether they're going to go there for a little bit of time, and then we're going to work on another solution for them. Can you?
Yes, there is discussion about looking at alternatives, continuing to look at alternatives. In the meanwhile, Terry Smith from the sheriff's organization is working on what it would take for the sheriff to utilize the Mount Zion campus appropriately. Quite frankly, it will be very tight for them, and it will take some investment on the first floor for some additional security and some operational configuration within the building. So those things are still being looked at. It's not too late to go a different path. And Mr. Whitaker, I know, is working on a committee to get together and look at alternatives aside from this building, because this is not the right answer for the sheriff's department's future. My viewpoint from what I know that has gone into the decision. Anything else I can add to that? Sheriff Montgomery, anything? Thank you. The details I'm about to show you are about the administrative side of the business, Parks and Recreation and programs, the museum, all the pieces other than the sheriff's department. We're further ahead in developing our plans because the sheriff's group was waiting on that decision for several months while we were moving right along. So I did include a slide on the sheriff's department for them to make a few comments during this presentation of what they've been doing. But what you're going to see is some cost here in a minute and a timeline, and all of that is focused on the administrative side of the county business. I have included in the package in the appendix every floor and what of those groups I showed you that were going into the building, where they're going to be placed, what floor they're going to be on, which building they're going to be on. There are 5 buildings called the classroom building, now the administration building, and the sheriff's department on the first floor. There's the auditorium, which is the picture that you're seeing here, which is where this council chamber will be placed, basically on the stage, with the auditorium being where the public will view the session and actually speak. And then the council's private conference room is behind there. If you're looking at that picture, kind of toward the top behind the half round table. This is a multi-use building. It'll be a public building as well. There is a huge movie screen where we can hold any kind of movie or presentation in kind of a movie environment for the county, which would be a great advantage and a really neat thing, I think, to have. The stage, the furniture that we're building, having built, is modular for the county commission, the county council, and it can be taken apart, folded up, put in storage, and then the stage can be used for any other activity that you would like, dance recitals and things of that nature. That's the first thing that comes to mind, is watching a dance recital in a school. But very, very neat use of an old auditorium. You can even, if you choose to do so, rent it out to specific functions that you approve and build some revenue from it over time if you'd like. All the other floors and all the other buildings are at the tail end of this report. I'm not going to go through those tonight. If you would like to know more about it, I'd be more than glad to go through those if you'd like. But for sake of time, I'm not going to cover all of those. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So this project's been going on for several years. Are all the offices in the way it's laid out now, is that the way it's always been?
No.
Has it been changed recently, and who made the changes?
So so to answer your question, from my background with the project, when I came in August, we were at a point where the developer had to stay on track with the current design as it existed in August to meet his deadline of December 31st, which is what he had to meet to get his historical tax credits. So we've made virtually zero changes, only minor changes, but zero changes to the shape of offices and the size of offices. We've worked around that as best we could. As far as I know, we added one wall with a hole in it for permitting, and that's all we added. Everything else has stayed status quo since August. I do know in the previous time before coming that the developer had gotten some of the construction done, like framing, and then they would get the request to reframe something that did not suit some group, and I have no knowledge of who those were and where all those decisions came from. But I do know they did do some rework on the classroom, third floor and second floor.
So who would, you said that was before you?
Yes, I'm stating that just from what I heard from the developer more than anything. Yes.
I was wondering, like, if years ago, an office said human resources, whether that office is still located in that spot or if it's been moved to another spot, like if its offices has been changed.
Well, it was used as a school. So these were big schoolrooms, and they were designed to be multiple offices where it was one big schoolroom before. So it doesn't look anything like it did in its days as a school, except for the gymnasium, which looks exactly like it. And everybody who comes in there who went to school there just loves having it look like it did when they were there years ago. But it doesn't look anything like it did when it was a school. No. Any other questions? I appreciate those. That helps me understand what you want to hear about. So this is probably, and I'm going to have to move out here so I can kind of see this. I should have brought my
Do
deck.
you want to stand here maybe?
Yeah. So this is what we have called the uplift cost. This is not the development cost to build the building structure and what you have a contract for the developer to deliver. These are other items that are needed. They're not really construction items. They're items that are needed for you to use the old cafeteria as an activity center, for example. The developer built all the rooms, put all the lighting, communications, air conditioning. Now we need chairs and carpets and different kinds of equipment that, because now we have 4 or 5 activity rooms, not just one big room where you have 5-year-old kids sitting in adult chairs. Now you can have small chairs for 5 to 8-year-olds, and then you have larger chairs for 9 to 12-year-olds. So you're really expanding your services to the county citizens with, for example, the activity center. But that takes investment. And I know I just jumped down to one of these. Where's my little bit? I just jumped down to that activity center uplift, tables, chairs, et cetera. You see this price tag over here. This price tag is changing daily. And that's because some of these items that are slanted, italics, and have an asterisk, I have either done some work to talk to somebody or done some work on the web to research costs for these, and I've come up with a ballpark estimate to use in this final estimate so that I can, or final number, so that I can inform Mr. Whitaker what we're looking at as far as dollars are concerned. I will tell you that if I have put a number in here, I put a number that I felt like was generally higher than we would see. So our view is we hope this number will shrink as we go along. If it is a number that is not italicized and does not have an asterisk, I have a bid for that number. And so that's a more of a real number.
I don't see this, the signs. You took that off?
I'm sorry?
The signs, how much the signs?
No, they're here. Let me see. Where's my signage? Hey, campus signage right here. See it, Mr. Bell? This is one that will vary depending on the choices we make. I'm sorry, let me see if you can see it here. It's right, campus signage right there.
Okay.
The building has to have exterior signs to say which building is which, direction signs to tell you where to park as a handicapped person, directions to tell you where to park to go to the sheriff's department because it's around back, how to pick up your kids at the activity center, where you enter into the gymnasium because there are like 5 entries into the gymnasium and you don't want people coming into every one of them. You need to control who comes in there because there'll be kids in the gymnasium. Signage is going to be really big. When you walk in this campus, you walk in the first building and you have no idea where to go to find the person you're looking for, right? It's a big place.
I guess the reason I brought that up is because there was nothing in the contract for the signage. There was nothing in there, just like for how you hang paper in the bathroom. None of this stuff was in the contract. And just want to make sure council is aware, all this stuff on here has got to be paid for.
That's correct. Whoops, sorry, went the wrong way. Campus window treatments. As y'all know, that building has amazing, beautiful windows. This building is extremely dark when you're working in it. You know, Kim's electric, I think you have a window in your office, but most people don't. This building is extremely bright, cheery, light colored, great air conditioning, great heat. You won't need all those temporary air conditioners sitting around. But those single pane windows, because you know those could not be changed out for historic reasons, we have designed some shades that will be pulled down on the inside that reflect 40% of the heat, the sunlight and the heat coming into the building so that it'll be much more energy efficient. We're only doing it on one side, on the southwestern side of the building, because you don't get that level of sun on the other side. We're using regular blinds or shades, I should call them, not blinds, shades on that side. So this number, 80,000, reflects not only that cost, but the cost of the shutters that are more traditional on the museum to make it look and feel more like an historic building. of which it is. Any questions on blinds? Let's see, the gymnasium is finished, but we don't have any basketball goals. We don't have any bleachers. We don't have any benches for the players to sit on. We don't have any nets for the volleyball. We don't have any scoreboards. The Boykin Center gymnasium is going to stay in use, and the programs can expand to cover more people, more different types of sports that are indoors. But to use it for certain sports, we have to uplift it by putting in basketball goals and things of that nature. The gymnasium is there. The court is lined for basketball, but that's what was in the contract that they delivered to us. Now, all of these are choices as to when you do it, how much of it you do, and these are all decisions that we'll be bringing back to you as we get final pricing and things like that for y'all to make the best decision for the use of the money on. Let's see, safety equipment. Again, we do have some AEDs, first aid. We don't have any evacuation maps. Those things are required in these buildings. And so because this is a much bigger campus, we're going to have to buy and develop some of that stuff. Door security. Door security at the very beginning, a couple of years ago when they designed this, was focused on the sheriff's department, the first floor. They did a great job securing the doors. So you have to have a badge with credentials that allows you into the sheriff's department area. That's perfect. But at that time, I'm not sure what the plan was for the remainder of the use of the building, like the activity center and all the kids. But now I've got a kids building and doors that you don't want just anybody going in because you've got children. And so those need security and those need to be accessible quickly. So those need to be badged. You can't have 50 people with a key to get into those rooms or into that building. So there's I'm meeting this week actually with two vendors on security to talk about bringing some additional security to other parts of the campus to control individual citizens just walking up, finding a door, walking in, and then going wherever they want to in the campus. We can't allow that. It has to be a very secure place for us to work. Mr. Bell mentioned bathroom equipment. I know that's trivial, but it's kind of interesting. We have 27 bathrooms in this complex. They all have toilets, they all have sinks, and they all have air hand dryers. There is no toilet paper holders. There is no toilet seat cover holders. There is no paper towel holders. There are no garbage cans. We don't have 27 bathrooms to take that stuff out of. We only have a few, so we have to buy more to upfit. Any questions on anything I've covered? Anything else on this sheet you'd like for me to talk through? As you can tell, I can talk to you about this forever.
One of the things I would like for council to send Mr. Whitaker a note in that do y'all want us to combine items for vote? How do you want that to happen? Because because currently they've spent the $1 million in escrow. That's already been spent. Okay, and from my understanding, Mrs. Drigger said there's another 200,000, right, Mr. Whitaker? Okay, and then there's this 700,000, and then and the sheriff is gone. We don't have his stuff yet.
Yes, Terry is there.
Okay, so but we don't have their stuff as of yet. How much that's gonna cost us? So then, do y'all want us to put certain items in a bucket, or do y'all want to vote on all of it at one time? Just send Mr. Whitaker the note.
For what would work best for us to be more efficient with it?
We could come back to you and say, you can't move in until you do these items. These others are, you can choose when to do them. You can do like playground. you have to build the fence where the playground's going to be because the doors from the activity, this is just an example, from the activity center, you can't lock them and the kids could run out. And if it's not fenced in, you got a issue. But you don't have to spend another $20,000 to put your jungle gym in there right now. Maybe you do that down the road and you just put grass and have a place to play with balls. So we can tell you easily what you have to do, and then what would make the best, what other money would make the best use of this facility for your citizens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to prioritize.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and there, we haven't prioritized here, even though most of the items on here are fairly high priority, at least some portion of them are high priority to move into the building. I'll give you a good example. This will be a big decision, probably a lot of this conversation. There is no Wi-Fi in the building. There is Ethernet. You can plug your computer in, but unless you have a cell phone, you can't get Wi-Fi service. Cell phone on your, from the cell, you can get a cell service, but you can't get just regular Wi-Fi like you can sitting in this building. IT did a $9,000 study to determine what it would cost to put Wi-Fi across the entire campus. And we've estimated that at about $75,000. We're not sure what the labor will be, so that number could be a little bit bigger. But you can decide how much of that, if any of that, you want to do for the next year or the next couple of years. That's one that you can decide whether you can operate with or without it.
Yeah, but who gonna operate without Wi-Fi at this day and time?
Exactly.
Mr. Chair, isn't the state working on several programs throughout the state to ensure Wi-Fi for everyone now?
I don't know, Mr.
Last I checked, it was.
Broadband network.
I know they're doing broadband, but what he's talking about is
Within the buildings.
Within the
Wi-Fi within the buildings.
But just my opinion, we may be able to hold off and tie that in some kind of way. It's just a thought.
okay.
Yeah, we can look into all of that, see if any of that applies. Okay. Any other questions on any of these expenses or upfits?
Are you through with the expenses part now?
I am, yes.
Okay, so one of the things, council also need to understand is that we do not have any maintenance. I mean, First Main and Development is not providing any maintenance at all. Okay, at all. Okay, so when you go in, everything that breaks, you fix. I don't care if it's the air condition. Go down, you fix it. And that was in the contract. Another thing is the county pays the taxes. Now, where that might not be a great concern because of how we do taxes, but that's just one of the things that's before us. When you look at this total piece, you've been very nice in trying to explain it to the general population. But now when you look at this, I mean, you can see, we've had people ask me, who negotiated this? Because of the amount of money that the county will have to pay out of its pocket when, yes, the contract was ironclad. Okay? But the money that this county gonna have to pay, we right now, is approximately about 2 million extra. The 1 million in escrow and the 1 million.
And the only thing, and again, none of us were here during those negotiations, but the only thing that I can think of, if I put myself in that situation, is maybe the county at that point was wanting the lowest
Yes.
lease payment they could possibly get. And so with us paying the taxes and us doing maintenance, that didn't add to the consistent.
And it looked like a low price or a false price.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all I can discerned that was what they were interested in, was getting that price down. They being whoever was negotiating the contract from both sides.
Because it was, you know, people talk about bids and bids. This was only one bid.
Right. I'll add to Mr. Lauber's presentation that we formed a move relocation team. And so we're doing phase moves, but we're also meeting with staff because this is something most folks have never experienced, moving from a building to a building and all the intricate details. So we're not only trying to be effective and efficient in how we do that, but we're trying to get our staff understanding what this means to embrace the move because we're going to make the move. We want to do it in the best possible way.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with your staff and some of their staffs as
Mhm.
well, taking them over there, looking at offices, asking them which one would work best for their operation.
function.
Him and I have done that and found a place that we felt like was you know, best for her near the auditorium. So she's going to be doing a lot of stuff inside the chamber there, for example. We've been trying to build goodwill and ownership.
Exactly.
And involvement in moving to the new building so that when they go, when the time comes for them to go, it's a positive experience instead of what are you doing to me?
Exactly.
Things. So I tell you, I think they're going to love it when they get in there and sit in those bright rooms. And it's just so, it's just a wonderful place to work. I would love to work there.
One of the things we also need to mention is that we have no room for expansion in that building,
Right.
that there is no room.
That is a great point. In order to close the permitting and planning of building, which was one of y'all's key objectives with this use of Mount Zion, we had to double up some people in some big offices that were created using cubicles or dividers and things of that nature. It worked out for us to move in, but you hire 5 more people over the next 2 years and really don't have any expansion room to speak of. Now, that is one of the key reasons, along with the fit of the sheriff's department in the smaller space, is to look at an alternative for the sheriff's department for the future, so that you do buy back with a different decision, expansion opportunity, and the opportunity to bring some other groups in and get rid of some rental costs and things like that. So I'm looking forward to
Yes.
that group getting together and looking at all the
options.
details around this, and maybe coming up with some alternatives to bring forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for bringing that up, because no false expectations, exactly what we want to come up. This is where I am right now with the staggered relocation approach. I've done a lot of projects in my life, and if you try to take an elephant and shove it through, a 2-inch pipe all at one time, it never works. You're just going to have a headache that you can't solve. And when you have a problem, it affects everybody, not just a small group. So we're broken up into small groups here, starting with IT. Hopefully IT can go in about mid-February. They have to go first because they have to set up all the communications so that when somebody else comes over there, like finance, their computers work the first day they're sitting at their desk. So Dwayne and Jason and those guys will be over there as early as mid-February, working on all of that communications. Once the communications is constructed and tested, then we can start looking at bringing additional groups. And these black diamonds are the additional groups.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
excuse me while I'm thinking about it. Mr. Whitaker, one of the things we need to do is, if we need to make a decision about Wi-Fi after IT talks about it, we need to do that. They need to give us a recommendation on what they think.
Okay.
And that was part of the big reason for the survey, so that they could give you a recommendation. Now they know what it takes to cover the whole site, but
you could ask him, well, what does it take to hit the 5 priority locations like conference rooms and the auditorium and things like that? And they could come back and give you a cheaper cost for one, but they might tell you, then if we keep expanding it over time, we're gonna spend twice as much. Because then you're spending money on top of money that you didn't need to spend. So I know that might not have made any sense, but
It do make,
it works.
it do make sense.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm not against Wi-Fi, but employees will be able to do their job through the internet, right?
That is correct.
Ethernet.
That is correct.
So that is not, Wi-Fi is not stopping them from doing their jobs.
That is correct. That's why I laid it on the table as an option to go to.
However, the council, chamber, and because it's a movable stage,
It's all Wi-Fi.
it's all Wi-Fi. See, that's why I'm saying you got to have, you got to be able to look at the whole piece. And again, that's why IT need to make some recommendation to us to make sure we're aware.
And did you talk about the iPads that they're gonna have? Like, is that level of detail?
So as I told you, when I showed you the map of the council chamber and there's like, 6 or 8, I can't remember right now because I've gone through so many iterations, 6 or 8 tables. And 12 people will be sitting around that. So, everybody here plus the legal counsel, and then probably, I'm not sure if this will be up there, but it'll be off to the side there. But anyway, there's 12 chairs, there'll be 12 chairs. Each one of those tables can break apart. They're connected when they're in the U, but they can disconnect, fold up, put on a rack, roll them into the storage room. When you're up there, this big board is a pleated skirt, heavy duty pleated skirt. So that's for privacy. And then there's 2 panels hanging on each end that faces the audience that match the decorative design that's in the walls. So it kind of looks like it fits in. Now, in order to break that thing down and move it, we can't put a bunch of electrical boxes in there and wired microphones. Everything is wireless. We're looking at providing you Windows Surface machine that you won't take with you, but when you show up, there'll be one at each of your seats, and you open it up, and then you'll be able to see these presentations right in front of you. There is on the front of the balcony, there is an 80-inch TV if you'd rather look at it up there. But if you're my age, you won't be able to read everything there. So we want to put something right in front of you that you can see the presentations. A lot less expensive to do that kind of thing than to try and wire everything. And then once we do that, we take away the use of the stage for the rest of the purposes that it was intended. So just want to say our goal is to have everybody over there, 911 being the last group along with rec. And this is because their furniture for 911, the consoles and the recs facilities and furniture and equipment will be later because of lead times. We hope to have everybody over there by the end of April. And then moving through the cycle, HR, procurement, the county council. We want to have you guys over there, Mr. Bell, by mid-March. So hopefully, we're supposed to have the furniture for the council chamber by March. And so hopefully by mid-March, we can have y'all have your first meeting there. That's our goal. Now, on the front end of this, what you don't see is they're still finishing construction on some items. And it will not stop IT from going in there, but if they don't get enough done by the end of February, which there's no reason they shouldn't, but if they don't, it could start to delay pushing some of these out. And we have not a lot of control over it.
And we over a year behind.
All right, we'd like to just keep giving you updates on a regular basis so you see where we are. And then we'll put together some priority plans and come share with you why we think those things are priority over some other. As I said, at the back of your deck, the other floors that show where all the different groups are there. Any last questions for me? I'm sorry I moved up here.
No, this is excellent. Thank you.
Anything else?
Any questions, concerns? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, Mr.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for working so much with us to keep this thing on the right track. We really have appreciated it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Before we move on, Mr. Bell, since we had county administrator's report, I got a few questions for county administrator. Mr. Whitaker, I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, me and you spoke, and I received a lot of complaints about Fairfield County having a lot of trash on the roadways. If you remember our conversation, can you kind of just inform the public on the reason we're not picking up trash at the moment and the reason we're in the state that we're in?
Yes, yes, sir. I had a conversation with our building maintenance team and our public works team to kind of, and I think Mr. Netherton was on that call. So our community development team to do some research on the current state of our capacity to beautify the county through having crews to work in the county on those issues. And so I believe the statements were that those teams were not in the budget and that we need to do some budgeting to get more teams. I think they were using detention center staff through the building maintenance department to have folks go out and road crews go out and clean the county, but they didn't currently have the capacity to do so. So
Why was that?
because it wasn't budgeted. That was the
But that
explanation.
was not told to us. What was told to us is that you couldn't use them because we're in the middle of COVID.
Okay.
And
And so-
not to mention that's the state roads anyway. So the county is not obligated to pick up no trash.
Right. So I can prepare a formal response to that and be prepared to do a report on that in the next council meeting. But what I was told was that they didn't have the capacity in those two departments to do it. So let us do some more research, that's what I was told, but I'll do more research.
You
and
fine,
fig-
sir.
And find out what's going on. But we want to be able to provide that service. I've noticed myself, and there are other citizens that have talked about the need to do some beautification to clean up the litter in the county. So we'll work on that.
And Mr. Whitaker, while you're doing that research, can you also find out from various counties, how do they go about, do county employees go
Say that
about-
again?
While you're doing the research on this information you
Yes,
just
sir.
bringing to us, could you also get some research on the other counties, surrounding counties?
Yes,
On
yes.
how they go about.
How they go about beautifying, yeah,
County employees.
we can do
it, or
that.
State
we can do
employees.
that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think in the budget, because the budget was tight, I think we also cut away temporary employees that I'm not sure if they helped out as well,
Okay,
but we did cut away temporary employees.
we'll work on that.
And Mr. Wicker, one more question for you. The county's stamp machine, I think I spoke with you on this. I'm aware that the council member and maybe some others have sent personal mail through the county stamp machine. I don't think that's legal. I don't think you should be sending your personal mail through the county stamp machine. And I think the county stamp machine needs to be looked at to see if it's a way that it can be coded to certain departments and not one code for everybody to have in the administration building where they can send their personal mail through the county stamp machine.
Okay. And what I, and,
Mr. Whitaker, may I address that?
okay,
I don't want that as, to be given to anyone else. One of the things that happened is this. Council received a lot of, Christmas cards from various agencies. I see the sheriff is in here now. He sent us Christmas cards. So what I did is I called the clerk to council and says, Ms. Roberts, would you send some Christmas cards from the county? They were not my cards. Because to be frank with you, I don't care if I don't give you a Christmas card. To be frank. But trying to bridge relationships, I said, let's send people Christmas cards. Okay? It is done. The sheriff sent us cards. Council on Aging sent us cards. All these departments sent us Christmas cards during the Christmas season. So what we did is says, you know what? Let's do the same.
The card was not sent from all of council. It was sent from Moses Bell. He sent his personal mail. That's probably not the only thing he's ever sent through the county stamp machine. And now that it's election season, we need to make sure that council members are not sending personal mail through the county stamp machine. That's all I'm asking.
All right, let me make a statement of how I'm addressing issues like this. One of the things that I'm doing is doing a comprehensive review of all the personnel policies, all the policies and procedures from the county. And so one of the things that the county, I think we need to do is have a formal process for policy recommendations, policy updates. A policy change, the personnel policy, any policy change, I would work with our county attorneys or a subcommittee of the council to, figure out how to appropriately do. My review is that is not currently addressed in our policies. So we have to formalize a process by which any, personnel or use policy, there's a lot of policies that I believe that needs to be improved in this county. And so one of the things we're doing is we're reviewing it. We have staff looking at it and reviewing it. And we're looking at other policy manuals for just like we talked about other counties. We're looking at what, other counties, similar size, similar demographics have. So I would recommend that if we have things that we want to improve in the county, we want to put it into policy and we want to go through a formalized process to adopt new policies. But I don't think that's currently in policy right now. So if there's a recommendation for that, then I think that's kind of the way we need to go about it.
Good, Mr.
On that litter situation, I know that DOT got a multi-million-dollar grant to pick up litter. And it's a place on the DOT website to where you can go on and put down roads that you see a lot of trash on.
Right.
And DOT is supposed to pick that trash up.
Okay.
So you could check with them and
We will.
to see if they're.
It's a priority. We're gonna work on figuring out how we can beautify the county based on the current conditions.
And I know that Public Works also has a grant that they have where they've used for volunteers. And I
Right. Okay.
know that met with them in taking a look at some district-wide kinds of things that might be done with volunteers.
We'll work on it and have a report ready for you, what we're doing at our next council meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions of Mr. Whitaker? Okay, we're down to clerk to council report. None. County council time.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
first of all, I want to say thank you to all of the first responders, linemen, and anyone else that had to be out the last 2 weekends because of the weather. We really do appreciate them. Second thing I have is, I will ask you again, when are you going to put second public comment section back on the agenda? I have spoken with neighboring counties. They are doing it. The Richland 2 School Board is doing it as well. I'm aware that you told a council member recently you were worried about citizens saying something negative. I think if we represent the citizens, that they need to have a voice and we need to put it back on there. Thank you.
Mr. Bell. Can we ask Mr. Whitaker to also again check with, probably the Association of Counties probably had this information about how many county councils actually have two public comment sections?
I can do that. Yes, sir. And you want the state of South Carolina
All
or?
the counties.
Okay.
How many of them have,
Sure.
2 public comment sections?
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Good, Ms. Carter.
Mr. Chair and fellow councilmen, lots of times there are a lot of accusations made here that are not necessary to respond to. But I think, Mr. Whitaker, if an accusation comes to you, then again, sure that, we are serving the citizens properly. But we also have to make sure that we don't look at things that are setups. And I think that it's very important that we're honest in the way that we deal with each other.
Anyone else? Mr. Paulding, almost in every council meeting says something negative about me. It's okay. I'm fine. Since coming to council, I worked very hard for the citizens of the county and District 1. We work with others to make the bridges and roads better and safer. Walking path at Rufus Belton Park, which is widely utilized. The Promise Program, standing up for the community near Airport Road and Cert Mill. Assisting and helping the town of Ridgeway. A settlement with Dominion and will add to the fund balance this year. As you all know, it appeared that we would not be able to build a recreation community center for District 1. Then God showed up, placing me in the right position at the right time and the right situation to get it done. Just to think it was only placed on the list prior to me being chairman to report it was on the list. Now we can build a community center with long-term implications for our seniors and youth and meet a need for the county and its IT redundancy efforts. Dr. Matthew Stevens III, a global influencer and visionary, says, great men and women are born for the time they are needed the most. While I don't fit the description of great, I do believe I'm currently serving in the purpose that was established for this season. The length of the season, I don't know. Unlike Mr. Paulding, I can't get away with voting against the last 3 budgets with one excuse after the other. Even voting along against the Dominion settlement that included a wastewater treatment facility for this county. Leading the effort to close the library in Ridgeway. Not trying to help or improve his own district. Being the naysayer, the disruptor, and the cancer to progress. Mr. Paulding can have this as his record, but I cannot. I understand that hatred and envy are destructive to the core of one's soul. With that, a person becomes obsessed. Yes, I'm tired. Currently, the rumors are rampant that people have received money to attack me personally. Even with that, I'm not deterred. The former governing body left the county with a depleted fund balance, debt, and Mount Zion, the most disastrous contract this county has ever deployed. So being tired doesn't stop the work ahead of us, so I will continue. Attacking me personally is serious stuff. But as my pastor stated, the harder the enemy comes after you, the greater the purpose within you. So to make sure there's no misunderstanding, I believe that no weapon formed against me will prosper. It may appear to prosper. It may appear to destroy, but it would not. And all my faults, my shortcomings, and all my many mistakes, I belong to the King of Kings. With that, I want the citizens to know we are building out the future for this county. The last meeting, we saw the beginning of a pathway to a more fair and physical budget process, with an understanding that the revenues should match the expenses. In the agenda tonight, we set aside $500,000 for a spec building. After receiving $2 million from Dominion, another $2.5 million from the South Carolina Department of Commerce. The first spec building since 2013, 2014. Our aim is to build a future in a way to have growth, to be the catalyst for more growth. Other counties have done it, and we will too. Give us the chance. We are building the infrastructure for a long-term economic boom, grading industry sites, speculative buildings, defining subdivision sites, working with home developers, a wastewater treatment facility on the Broad River that will have the capacity for extended growth for the next 50 years. Yes, meeting with potential industries. Our plans are to seek more infrastructure growth with federal dollars and state dollars to repair our county bridges. Ward and rural communities like those in Ridgeway and other communities, and broadband throughout the county. This is some of what we're doing, and we solicit you all help. Can we get a motion to go into executive session?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Item A, legal advice discussion regarding proposed property sale pursuant to South Carolina Code. Any other discussion? All in favor of executive session, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers? Let the record show 7-0.